My name is Dr. Stephen Jones. As an organizational psychologist and executive coach, I love to study what allows people to bring out the best in themselves and others. So join me as I welcome top leaders to uncover the future of leadership. Welcome to The Leadership Secret, where top leaders reveal insights earned, wisdom gained, and transformational moments that have defined and redefined their leadership. I'm your host, Dr. Stephen Jones, and today's guest is a compassionate leader dedicated to excellence in the nonprofit sector and throughout the community. Our guest is Nancy Sasaki. Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Dr. Jones.
So excited. Nancy and I are going to spend time really looking at uncovering the few secrets of the future of effective leadership. Now, let me tell you a little bit about our guest today. Nancy grew up in Austin, Texas. She has been described as a leader who leads with integrity, heart, and vision. In December 2025, Nancy will be retiring from the role of President and CEO of the United Way of San Diego, where she served for 7 years. Nancy's impact on the San Diego region has been profound. She has strengthened United Way of San Diego County's focus on education and economic mobility. Nancy is a proven change maker, focused on the immense and complex social challenges within the San Diego region, and works to support children, young adults, and families experiencing inequities. She has worked with and helped lead several organizations, including Alliance Healthcare Foundation, Planned Parenthood in Austin, Texas, Los Angeles, California, Hawaii, and the Pacific Southwest in San Diego. I would just stop at Hawaii, Nancy. That's all I'm saying.
I should have. I definitely should have.
Right. Nancy also provides leadership with the ACLU of San Diego and Imperial Counties. Nancy participates on the Burnham Center for Community Advancement's Community Advisory Group, Community Fabric Group, and the Workforce Development Working Group. She thoroughly enjoys her village that includes nonprofit female CEOs and the Japanese Sisters. And let me tell you, I could go on with Nancy's impact and involvement. And at the same time, the California State University and CSU San Marcos Board of Trustees conferred upon Nancy the honorary doctorate of human letters degree.
That was crazy. I was so surprised. It was really amazing when I got the phone call. I'm like, I'm sure they've called the wrong person.
Very good. I think they got the right one, Nancy. I'm just saying. The love of her life is her daughter, Kelly, who lives in Austin, Texas, with her husband, Travis. Nancy is recognized for her work as CEO of the Year, Asian Pacific Islander Leader of Influence, Community Leadership with the Asian Business Association, Nonprofit Business Leader.
That's enough.
Well, and I'll just top it off with Woman Business Leader of the Year. I'm telling you, we've got a top leader in the house.
Thank you.
Who others recognize as having a major impact, big time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Nancy loves to travel internationally. Some of her favorite trips have been to Myanmar, Cuba, Bali, Norway, and the Greek islands.
Mm-hmm.
And she looks forward to Portugal and another trip to an international volleyball competition.
I hope so. I
All
love those
right.
places.
Excellent. And on August 3rd,
8th.
August 8th, Nancy will be, tell us the story, Nancy.
Well, I am going to get to be the third baseball girl for the San Diego Padres versus the Boston Red Sox.
Uh-huh.
I get to be on the field. It was just kind of like a opportunity that I couldn't waste. It's like, take my shot, right?
Yes.
I was at a Rotary Club meeting. The CEO of the Padres, Eric Grupner, was the guest speaker. During the Q&A, I raised my hand and I said, I know I should make this about partnering with United Way, but I'm going to make it personal. And I want to be your third baseball girl. And the whole room cracked up laughing. Eric cracked up laughing. And at the end, I wrote on my business card, your future third baseball girl, and I took it to him. And he said, I can't promise you a job, obviously, right? But then he said, I can make it happen for one game this season. I said, I'll take it.
Very good.
Yeah, so I'll be there.
That is awesome.
Yep.
That is awesome.
Can't
Very
wait.
Good. Awesome. So let's talk a little bit, Nancy, about your passion for leadership and making an impact. What motivates, what drives you?
Well, that's actually funny because when I was growing up, that wasn't necessarily my dream. I think that one of the things that was really important was having people around me that saw something in me, that showed promise, that they thought you can do more, and they would offer me other positions to do more. And in that way, I got to see like how an organization works, how each of the pieces work together, and ended up at that organization at Planned Parenthood in Austin as being an interim CEO. And I'm like, okay, I guess I can do this, right? It wasn't like I thought, like, when I grow up, I want to be.
Yes.
It was by really allowing other people to see things in me and believing them. Like take the chance.
Yes.
Like, who knows what you're going to learn? But it was really what led me to be a leader, and watching other leaders and what can you learn from them? What do you learn not to do?
Yes.
Because not all of them are the best leaders you're going to be working with. And so, yeah, it was really kind of that all happened that allowed me to become a leader.
Ah, very good. So it's really, really powerful around others tapping you on the shoulder and seeing your potential and almost pulling you into leadership versus having leadership as a target or a goal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something for people to really learn and to really pay attention to, because when other people tap you on the shoulder, they see something in you. Take the opportunity. Don't be afraid of it, and just keep going and see what happens. One of the first things that situation put me in was to be the leader of a nurse practitioner group. I'm not a nurse practitioner. I don't have a medical degree. I studied biology, so I know a little bit. But how do I lead a group of people who have much more background, certifications, licensures, all of this other stuff? And I think what I really learned from that was to be able to listen, hear what they're saying, decipher what it is they really want to try to do and accomplish, and then figure out from an administrative leadership role, how do I move that forward?
Yes.
What pieces of that could actually happen? What pieces of that do you have to say, like, what else can we do? Because that's just not going to work, and not really saying anything about the medical practice, but what pieces really kind of fit in line with what the organization is trying to accomplish.
So good, because so many people get into leadership and think about leadership as having the subject matter expertise. And you just named the leadership skills expertise versus the subject matter expertise.
Yeah, you can get in real trouble if you think you're the subject matter expertise, or that you ought to be in a situation where you're not. I think it's really, that's the part of the honesty, being honest to yourself. Like, this is not my strength, this is not my area of expertise, and be willing to learn from those from who that have that expertise, right? And then show what your expertise is that you're bringing to the table. And work together in that way.
Very good. Can you talk a little bit more about what does it mean to have and build expertise around leading people?
Oh, gosh. I did talk a little bit about listening. That's one of the first things, is just listen to what they're saying, but try to listen to it in terms of what are they wanting to have happen. Sometimes they may not be saying the words in the way that really come across. They may be words that, like you get defensive about, that you want to just say, no way, that's not going to happen. But listen to what it is that they're really trying to accomplish and see what you can pull from that.
Nice.
And then repeat it back. Like, what I really hear you saying is, that you want this to happen. And be honest. I think that's also very important, and like, I don't see a way forward with that. Like, let's think about what else we could do. Or I think that if we just make this one little tweak, it could move forward. What do you think about that? But really incorporating them in the decision making and in the process that's going to or not going to move forward. I think those are two really important things when you're trying to do that. I think also the follow through and the follow up. Like, if you promise to do something, do it. And if you, once you've done that, go back and say, hey, here's what I was able to do. Here's what the feedback was. What more can we do? Or if you need to do that, or like, let's high five that win, right? But there's when you're talking with people, whether it's in a group or individually, it doesn't end when the conversation ends. Right. And always remember that you need to get back to people.
That's so good. That's so good. Talk a little bit about confidence, because I think about people who get tapped on the shoulder, but think to themselves, why did this happen to me on the shoulder? Like, I'm not ready for that. Where does confidence play out for yourself and for folks who get tapped on the shoulder?
Gosh, that's a great question, Dr. Jones. I don't know. Sometimes I think just having the willingness to go with it is part of it. I think for me, some of it was, well, I know we need this. I know that we don't have any other options. Our budget got cut, or there's something else that's going on. I know they need me to jump in. Just jump in and do your best. And some of it is like a little bit of arrogance. Oh, yeah, I can do this. I know I can do this. It just really depends on what the request is. But I think the main thing is don't shut it down. Just go into it with your fears. I mean, they talk a lot about when you don't have the confidence, and the imposter syndrome. Like, somebody's going to figure out, I don't know what the heck I'm doing, right? And I think we all go into something new, not with 100% confidence that I know what this is going to be. I can predict the future and know what this is going to look like. But I think the leadership strength is going with what you think you know now and being adaptable as things change and present, and you learn more and you keep adapting and you keep learning and you keep being a stronger leader each time.
Very good. Leadership secret, y'all. I want to pull it out. Leaders allow themselves to be adaptable.
Absolutely.
Right? And constantly lead from what they know and where they're at and get better over time.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the best you can do, right? Is work with what you know, work with what you have, be able to, again, just adapting to what you're hearing from other people, what you see is happening in front of you, what you hear is happening in the environment, because you're going to have to make those shifts. And good leaders, I think, put all of that together and come forward with a message for people that they're leading. But here's what I see, here's what I'm hearing, here's what's happening in the environment, and here's where I stand with this position in this organization. And, one of the things that just recently came up was, where do we stand with regard to what is happening with DE&I? And staff just like, what's going to happen? What are we going to do? And being able to say, like, we are who we are. We serve who we serve. We have data to back up the fact that we need to be in these communities, working with these people, and we are not going to change that. And for them to hear that from a leader, I think it doesn't change the environment that we live in, but it made them feel like, okay, great. It's not just me. I've got this team. I've got this organization. And that person at the top is willing to stand up for all of us.
Nice. Very good.
So I think that's really important to also put into play, like, stand up for your own values and let people know what they are.
And part of what I'm hearing in what you're saying is the standing up includes being honest from your viewpoint and perspective. So when you hear something that you're thinking that's not going to work, part of it is to communicate that, but not have that perspective limit.
Yeah. There was a time when I was on a board of directors. I was just observing because we had given them quite a bit of money,
Hmm.
and I was just watching what their process was, and they had some decisions to make. And I could say, like, if you go down that path, I can fully support that and probably get you funding from the board. If you go down this path, I need more information because I don't think that's going to work with them. But give me more information because if I'm going to support this, I need to be fully behind it.
Yes.
So being able to see those pathways that you might be able to take, and say, like, if I'm going to go that way, I need more. If I go that way, it's easy for me.
Yes.
But not making that decision for people
Yes.
sometimes is also really helpful.
I think that is huge in what you just said, right? Because I think there's this belief out there that, and I've heard many leaders who kind of take a hands-off approach, even though they have information that could be helpful in directing, right? And determining which direction to go or the work to be done, right? And I've seen many leaders think and not know how to communicate what you just said. So they say nothing.
Oh gosh, you can't just say nothing. If you're in the leadership role, people are looking to you to say something. I think that like sometimes you might have to go back and say, oh, but I was really wrong on that. But again, that goes back to the honesty of it all, right? But I think as a leader, if you're going to lead, give them a path to lead to go down. So you have to say something instead of having them feel like, and I think that what ends up happening, they feel like they're floundering because they're trying to figure out, like, what does that person really want me to do? They're not saying, but I think I can go this way. So as a leader, I think it's a hard balance. Giving the clarity about which path would be good to take, but also giving them the opportunity to make some of those choices themselves. How else are they going to learn? And isn't that what the role of the leader is to help people learn so that they can get that experience down the road. So, yeah.
Very good. Very good. I want to go back to, you mentioned arrogance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to frame that as kind of a healthy arrogance versus an unhealthy arrogance.
Sure.
Can you unpack what do you see and where's that line between healthy arrogance and unhealthy arrogance?
Yeah. So, that really does take me down the path of where I've seen some leaders fail. Is I think a lot of times, sometimes rather, leaders can decide this is the best path. This is what we need to do. This is what I want to see happen, and I'm going to make this happen because I want it. And that arrogance about this is what I want, this is what I think is best, is what can also have them fail in the future because they didn't listen to the people they're trying to serve. They didn't listen to the people that are going to have to implement and do the work. They commit the organization to expenses that maybe don't come to fruition, to future forecasting that doesn't happen. And I have just seen people have that kind of arrogance that I know best. I know what's going to happen in this pathway, and we're going to make it happen. And then they fail. So I think that's an unhealthy arrogance. I think the other is the healthy arrogance is, I've been down this path. I've got some strengths. I know what the experience is. I know I can lead people, but then that you have to have that adaptability. You have to be able to say, like, I know what I'm doing, but, well, that's a new twist. Like, how does that fit in? Like, always being able to adapt that, but always feeling like you got it. You've got this, you know what you're doing. So I think that's a healthy arrogance. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. I'm hearing unhealthy is here's what I think and I stop listening.
True.
Right? Healthy is here's what I think and I continue to listen to others and for additional information to adapt.
Right.
Is that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
I'm picking up what you're putting down, Nancy.
Thank you. I hope others do too.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
So let's talk about that. Over 40 years.
Oh, boy.
Across many states and environments, you have been in roles of leadership. One or two additional themes that you have seen, and I'm thinking dynamics, right, around effective leadership that you would say you've mined over time or learned over time?
Yeah. So having worked in different states, especially, really, I learned a lot from that. Going to Hawaii with Planned Parenthood, there are so many things that I learned. Hawaii was one of the first states to decide that they were going to go into very broad primary care for health care. And so the Planned Parenthood was trying to become that. And so to just see like what are the needs of this community, who to understand the Native Hawaiians and their role and their disassociation with the standard and the status quo.
Yes.
Like, and how do you provide health care in that kind of an environment, and learning about the structures of the government and how they ran and where the strengths were in health care and who could access. And one of the questions that I had to answer is, why did Planned Parenthood put a clinic on that island in that place, and why did they then move it someplace else, not listening to the people that they're not going to go over there?
Yes.
And so I'm closing it because nobody's coming.
Yes.
So I think, like, again, just like what is happening in the community? Who are the people in this community? And not assuming that they're the same as the place you just were, even if you just stay in San Diego. There's such a variety here. There's such diversity. I mean, you could be in the rural parts of the county. You could be in Chula Vista. You could be in the center of San Diego. You can be in Vista. Like, they're all different in the people and their needs and what's working and what's not working. There are some things that we know that aren't working, but being in the most expensive city in the country, that doesn't work for a lot of people.
That's right.
But I think, just again, being open to learning and listening and putting that into play, I think really helps to round out leadership. And to be able to just see, like, when we were doing at United Way, when we were doing our funds to help people during the pandemic, at first we thought the market was huge. Like, everybody needs help, right? So our funds are for everybody. But then the government came in, the state came in, they changed unemployment rules so that more people were eligible. And my job was to tell staff, keep digging. Who's still not eligible? Who's still not getting funds? And that's when you learn that international students in college here weren't eligible for anything. That's when you learn that people with disabilities aren't eligible for anything, especially if they're living with their parents, because then the income is different. I just had to have people keep digging. I learned that from all of the other previous work that I was doing, to learn, like, who's not getting care, who's not hearing about this opportunity, how do we keep digging? And so then when we learn that there are people who need help with their rent, but their rent is on a handshake, and we're requiring them to provide a lease. How do we work with that? Because they're the people in need, right? So what do we have to do there? And just continuing to find those solutions so that we're truly serving the people who are the most in need during that time.
We talked a little bit earlier, and I'm hearing it in what you're saying about mining for the gap.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. That's our strategic plan name.
Yes.
Mind the Gap.
Is it?
Yes.
Say a little more about that.
Yeah. So when we were looking in 2020 about what our strategic plan would be, what really got me there was that you can look at the data around kids and their ability to read by the end of third grade or as they enter fourth grade. Okay. And you can see a gap between the white and Asian students here in San Diego County and the black and brown students. There's a gap. But when you look back since 2003, since this data was being collected, although the bars for both are going up, the gap is not moving. The gap is not changing. That's not okay. We've spent billions of dollars since 2003 to get reading gaps closed. And we're raising the bar, but not the gap. And that's when I started saying, it's a little bit of play on words from London, like mind the gap. You see that all over the place in the tunnels with getting on the subway system. It says mind the gap, and that's between the platform and the train, right?
Okay.
So mind the gap, but that's what we really need to pay attention to, is where are those gaps? And where are people falling through the cracks because the gap is so big for them?
So good. All right, let's pull that leadership secret out. Leaders mind the gap.
Leaders mind the gap.
Right?
Yeah.
And that gap could be in your promotional levels, right? That whether certain people are being promoted versus others, right? Groups of
Hmm.
people, and minding the gap around the skills that are your brand. I mean, like there's so many places where that concept can be applied and
Absolutely.
transferred.
Absolutely.
That's
As you talk
powerful.
about staff, one of the things we learned during the pandemic is I put the staff first. I said, we need to listen to the staff because each of them are in different situations,
Yes.
trying to work from home when it was brand new,
Very
right?
good.
People who are at home with elderly parents, people who are at home with 3 roommates and they're sitting on their bed trying to do a Zoom meeting,
Yes.
right? And like these things don't work over time. If
That's
we're
right.
going originally we thought it was only going to be a few weeks, right?
Right.
And then it kept going into months and months and like this isn't working. Where's the gap? And
Hmm.
then learning things like when people are all online, opportunities for advancement are less. So if you have
Yes.
some people coming in the office and some people who aren't in the office, that emotional connection
Yeah.
doesn't happen. So what do you do? And we oh my God, some of the games that people would play,
Mm.
like Silly Hat Day on Zoom, right? Like,
Uh-huh.
let's have this meeting. Let's talk about that hat. What does that hat mean?
Yes.
Or go and grab something that's meaningful to you. And some
Yes.
people would bring their cats and some would bring a statue from a trip, like
Hmm.
just getting to know people.
Yeah.
And boy, that really went off track. But I think
No,
minding the
yes.
gaps, right, is like just keep looking for where those gaps are and what
Yes.
kinds of things can you do to help to close those
Yeah.
gaps.
Well, I love the connection you just made because it took me to innovation.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
And I think many people segment innovation to technology.
Mm-hmm.
And you just named how applying innovation to people leadership,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Applying innovation to keeping people engaged. Good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's also a key role for a leader
Hmm.
is like what's happening to people now,
Hmm.
right? And just constantly, like what's happening to people now?
Mm.
Oh, we're a month later. What's happening to people now, right? We just
Yes.
changed that process. What's happening to people now?
Yes.
It's like kind of like the follow up and the follow through. It's
Yes.
like just because you say it's going to change and you change, what impact did that have? What
Yes.
happened to the people and who's falling through the cracks, right? Who
Yes.
didn't that work for and what do you need to look at?
That's so good. So, okay, y'all, I'm going to be doing this all episode around identifying those leadership secrets, right? Because one, leaders mind the gap. I'm also hearing leaders mind for the impact, right?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I don't know that they're necessarily different. I think that there's skill sets that you have to have
Okay.
as a good leader, as a well-rounded leader,
Yes.
is to be able to mind the gaps. But then you also have to be able to look at what happened.
Yes.
I mean, when I was at the foundation and we were giving away money, one of the things it was like, great, you've got 1,000 people coming in the door, but what happened to them when they walked out your door? Like
Yes.
I would, I don't want to pick on any one organization,
Mm.
so I'll just say like sometimes I would hear like we're distributing X number of pounds of food,
Mm.
and I said, well then why are people still hungry?
Yes.
Like what's happening? Are they not eating the food? Is it not the right food? Is it, when we do summer programs for kids and to try to get food to them when they're out of school,
Yes.
are the kids who need the food the most coming? Like, how do you know? What's the
Mhm.
impact of what you're doing, not just
Yes.
how many bodies showed up?
Yes.
So I think that's also something that when you're, even with your staff, not just necessarily in a service that you're providing, but with your staff, looking at what was the impact? Were they happier? Did they have better arrangements for trying to do their work than sitting
Yes.
on the middle of their bed with their laptop between their legs, Like, did they feel safer? Did they feel like they were more productive? Did they, whatever kinds of things you want to try to measure,
Yeah.
that what you were trying to accomplish, did it happen?
Did it happen?
It's
Yeah.
not just like, oh, look, I did that, but, staff hated it. Like, like that's not going to be a good thing.
Well, and it's so good because I think there are so many places where people view programs and leaders as performative.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
performed this task, I performed this initiative, and you're pulling up and out the importance of, and then what happened?
Right, right, right. And I think that's something that I'm really proud about with the
Yeah.
work that we've done at United Way, that we were able to come up with our strategic plan during the pandemic.
Okay.
The good thing about the pandemic is that we had to focus internally, right?
Yes.
And so we were able to do our strategic plan. But then since then, I'll tell you this. When I was going through the search to be the CEO at
Yes.
United Way, I put up on the wall 6 different things that we were saying in the community about United Way.
Okay.
And I asked the search committee, which of these really speaks to who you think United Way is about? And they picked 3 out of the 6, and I said, we need one. We need one message about what United Way is, what we stand for, and that's what I want to try to do. So we got that one message, we got our strategic plan,
Yes.
and then since then, although our programs are fairly new because of it, we are focused on what we're doing in education and economic mobility, and tying the things that we add to that in those 2 pillars,
Yes.
and not something else because there's money there, or because, granted, some of it may be around community need, but I've told staff, like a lot of people were saying, like, are you going to add healthcare? Because that's where I came from with a lot of healthcare background. I said, no, we need to get these 2 right.
Good.
We need to show that we can do these effectively with impact. And then we can think about, should we add it? Do we need to? Does the community need it? Or do we add within these 2 pillars?
Very good. So helping to keep a focus.
Absolutely.
Right? Versus working to be, I won't say all things to all people, but many things.
Many things.
Because the need is so great,
right.
we know.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. I think, we're struggling with budgets. You hear a lot about budgets, whether it's at the federal level, the state level, the city level. Everybody's struggling with budgets. And that's going to mean that more people are going to be in need.
Got it.
But nonprofits are not necessarily sitting there saying, oh, yeah, you should see all this money coming in the door.
Right.
It's not happening.
Yes.
We're already in the nonprofit world knowing that we have a greater need than we are able to serve.
Yes.
I don't know of any nonprofit that's saying, oh, yeah, I'm serving everybody that needs it.
That's right.
It's not happening,
That's
right?
right.
So I think that we will see more people in need, and nonprofits not able to serve more people.
Got it.
I think one of the things that is also going to happen, that I saw happen in the pandemic, is that there were people who needed help who had never needed help before. They didn't know where to go. They didn't know where to turn. And what nonprofits provide in terms of services isn't always the Cadillac version.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's going to be hard for people to adjust to, and they may even be left out. Because we can't serve everybody.
That's right. That's right.
And then I'll cry and walk out the door. It's like, this is not, it's a challenge that we will all face.
Yeah. Wow. It takes me back to innovation, right? And where will there be a need to innovate around our business model, our funding model, right? The quality of the services we provide, like in so many different areas. A leader told me a while back, it was like, leaders have to remember what got you here may not get you there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, there was a time where a lot of nonprofits were talking about diversify your revenue.
Yes.
You have to diversify your revenue. And many of them went after government grants. And guess what just happened to government grants? It didn't help to diversify your revenue, but you couldn't have predicted it that at the time, right? So again, you're innovating.
Yes.
Like, what does diversifying your revenue mean now? And how do you do that? But, right now, I don't think that there's a lot of, oh, you just do this now.
Yes.
There's not necessarily that kind of option to go to.
Yeah.
But I think people are going back to some things like, it used to be called social enterprise.
Yes.
Trying to figure out, is there a way that we can generate revenue through a service that we already provide to people who can pay? Because we serve those who can't pay, but would people pay for it? And looking at those options, but they aren't going to bring in the millions of dollars that you just lost from your federal government contract.
That's right. It also speaks to, as a leader, and it goes back to the adaptability piece, right? Like what was a solution yesterday doesn't mean it was a bad solution when it doesn't work tomorrow.
Right.
Right.
No, in fact, many of the nonprofits that went after those federal grants
Mm,
have done really, really well
mm,
because of them. They
yeah.
really expanded. But it's such a drastic hit when you
Yes.
don't have those. It's like, I don't know that we were set up to be able to deal with that.
Yeah.
Just never thought that they would go away like on a dime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mental health.
Mm.
Given all of the, I'm going to imagine a roller coaster ride,
Mm-hmm.
right,
Mm-hmm.
of over 40 years of how have you managed, what have you learned about managing your own mental health? What do you do to stay balanced?
I don't mean to brag,
Okay.
but I think I'm one of the better CEOs in balancing my play
Okay.
and my work.
Okay.
I love beach volleyball. That is my first and foremost love.
Okay.
I play that twice a week.
Okay.
Every weekend I play. I, at one point when I was a fairly new CEO, I decided I'm traveling a little bit more, so you can't find 3 other people to play beach volleyball. So what sport can I play? And I picked up tennis because you can find at least one other person who thinks they can hit the ball over the net, and you hope that they can.
That's right.
But you can travel and find somebody to hit tennis balls with you.
Yes.
So I picked up tennis. So now I play tennis 3 times a week.
Okay.
And so I've got 3 times tennis, twice beach volleyball, and then just to kind of like add to it all, I do Pilates once a week. I go for a walk in the mornings on the days that I don't have a sport to play.
Okay.
So I try to balance that time that I'm not working. Although on my walks, I love listening to podcasts that talk about leadership, that talk about things about communication and how you communicate better. I like to learn while I'm walking.
Got it.
But yeah, otherwise, I think it's, hitting a volleyball really hard really helps. Like just pound it to the ground. That really helps.
Right.
Hitting a tennis ball, cross court winner, like those things really help. Keep your
Awesome.
mental health in line.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Very good. And having, to your point, an outlet, right?
Yeah.
That is prioritized. And it sounds like you also stay very consistent with those things and practices. Yeah?
I think I got that from my daddy.
Okay.
My daddy loved routine. He loved, he ate dinner at 6 o'clock every night, no matter where we were, what we were doing. We were on a road trip, and he goes, we've got an hour to the hotel, or it's 6 o'clock and we eat dinner. And I think everybody voted for the hotel, and my daddy said, we're stopping here. And we had dinner. So I think that routinization of my schedule comes from my daddy. My mom was a school teacher, so she had a routine too. But, just making sure that you build in that time, making sure that you're taking care of yourself, because what's the saying? You can't help others if you don't help yourself first, right? You can't be a good leader if you're not integrating those kinds of things that help you be healthy,
Absolutely.
help you have a mental health, help you just sometimes get away from it, right? Sometimes I'm the worst at vacations, but even though I like to travel, I'm the worst at staying off of emails. But you still need to take that break sometimes and just let it go.
That's right.
It'll be there tomorrow, or just, like I said, go pound a volleyball hard into the sand and you'll feel a ton better.
There you go. There you go. It reminds me of the saying that I've heard many people use, which is in the on the airplane, right? Folks will put your mask on first,
right,
before you take care of others.
Yep.
So that's really, really powerful. Now, I also heard the Texas daddy swang.
Oh, yeah, my daddy, and I say dadgummit. So, yeah, when I say y'all and cheapers.
Very good. Very good.
I grew up there, and there are some things that just don't go away. And when I'm really tired, the color RED actually has 2 syllables, and it will come out red. It's just when I'm tired.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Very good. Very good. I'm thinking about pitfalls. What are some of those things that you've seen people in leadership roles miss? And I'm going to put it this way, Nancy. Unintentionally get wrong?
Yeah. Well, I talked a little bit about it when I was talking about arrogance.
Okay.
When you just are just so certain this is the
Yeah.
right path to go down, that you start making commitments of the organization in
Yeah.
terms of resources, people, money, and you just don't take the time to say, like, is this still true?
Okay.
Is this still working? Is the environment telling me something else?
Yeah.
Those are some of the real pitfalls. Like, like you see something, and I even was questioning myself a couple of years ago about something that I was so excited about. It's like, oh my God, this framework looks like the perfect framework. And like,
Yes.
we need to be doing this. And I would always step back and go like, are you doing that? Are you committing yourself in this organization to something that just sounds really good to you and it's not
Yes.
going to work? It's like, keep digging. So just
Yes.
keep looking at that and just always be open to questioning yourself. At the same time that you're questioning yourself, you also have to exude a confidence in what
Yes.
you're bringing forward for people to consider. But in that, this framework had 7 pillars. Within that, the staff were telling me, like, we can launch 2 of them. It's like, great. Like, okay, I don't get all 7, but I
Yes.
get 2 of them, and we
Yes.
get down this path. So it's kind of that back and forth, that
Yeah.
give and take, that being open to listening, but also being confident that this is a great way to go.
Got it.
But those pitfalls, gosh, sometimes you make the wrong hiring
Yeah.
decision, and sometimes you have to like say, oh my God, that was so bad.
Yeah.
And cut your losses, or help staff kind of get to that place where they understand that they need to cut their losses.
Yes.
But learn from it and try not to do it again.
Right on. Right on.
So,
I heard someone say, take a long time to hire and a shorter time to let folks go if you feel like there's not, right, coachability, or I won't, because I don't believe in the word fit, unpacked or unexamined, right? But I think it's make sure that there's alignment, if you will, right? And if there's not, or where there's not, then make some decisions.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think that, we get to where we like people, and we, and I will so many times hear somebody say, like, I really like them, but
Yes.
it's like you have to separate that, because what you're doing is making this decision based on how it's having an impact
That's right.
on your ability to get the work done, how it's impacting the organization, how it's impacting staff. You really have to take all of that into consideration. At the time, nobody likes having to let somebody go. No, I've not met anybody.
Right.
Maybe it's because I'm in the nonprofit world, but I've not met anybody that think that that's a good thing or a fun thing to do. And yet so many times not so many times, I hope, but many times you have to make that decision based on how the impact on the rest of the organization, the staff, the ability to reach your goals and get the work done.
That's right.
So yeah, it's I think one of the pitfalls is when, you see this a lot in organizations where people haven't documented the problem, because it's, oh God, who wants to write that up, right?
That's right.
Like, and if I go down this path, then they're going to get mad. But when you get to the end where you're saying, like, this really isn't working and you haven't done that, guess what? You have to do it now.
Yes.
And you've got to prolong, right?
That's
And so I think just being upfront, being honest, being communicative, telling people where they're working out and not working out in the process of interacting with them. And I am always surprised when you've gone down that path with somebody that they are almost 100% of the time surprised that you're having to let them go.
Right.
They don't even realize it. It's like, it was written in this. It said, and if this happens, termination.
That's right.
But they don't believe it's going to happen. So like, I think it just causes us to recognize that even though you're communicating, some people don't hear.
Yes.
So how do you keep communicating so that they hear? I wish I could make it not a surprise.
Yeah. It's so, for me, powerful, because it's that idea of, like, one part is candid communication can equal respect.
Absolutely.
Right? And so many people view that tough conversation as demotivating. So then what I've seen happen is work will be taken from a person's
Oh my
role or
gosh, all the
position,
time.
but they don't get the feedback around why that work is being taken and what are the consequences
Right,
of that work
right.
being taken. So then they're told, you're not performing. And they're like, well, nobody gave me any feedback. There's no documentation, but there's been a lot of conversation
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. And people will, when things are taken from them, they'll be
Yes.
like, I wonder what that's about. Well, maybe I need to speak up. Maybe I
Mm-hmm.
need to complain. Maybe, and then they're
Yes.
seen as a thorn in the side. And it's like,
Yes.
no, they're just trying to get an answer to a question they don't know what to
That's
ask,
right.
right?
That's right.
And so, yeah, it's definitely that communication. It's so much easier up front
Yeah.
than it is at the end.
That's right.
So just having those those conversations with people,
Yeah.
making sure that you've got a schedule for talking to people, and that
Yes.
when you're scheduled to talk to them, that even what you're talking about with them is not a surprise at that point.
Yes.
Don't wait until that next eval or
Yes.
feedback session. Like, be telling them along the way so that you can say, hey, you know what? We were talking about this and I see improvement.
Yes.
We've been talking about this and nothing's changing. So what's not
That's
happening?
right.
What do we need to do more of?
Very good. Very
So
good.
I don't know, it's easy to talk about it and it's not always easy to do it.
Yes.
So just because I'm saying it doesn't mean I've always done it right.
That's right.
I think it's from not doing it right that you learn the most.
That's right. That's right.
Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Pulling out another leadership secret, y'all. And I want to say leaders communicate to reduce or eliminate surprises.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right?
I hope so.
Yeah. I think that's really, really important. And we can have a caring and candid conversation versus a passive aggressive conversation.
Right.
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 Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And we did that also. It was important during the pandemic because we weren't in the office to be saying to staff, like, we're not going to make major changes without giving you 30 days notice. We're not going to make this change without getting feedback from you. You're the first that we want to hear from. Then we're going to rely on the authorities on what they're saying that we need to do. But we're going to ask you, and we've kind of kept that. We're not going to make a major change to your benefits until we've given you 30 days. We're not making a major change as we're having to do with regard to when your paycheck comes without giving you 30 days notice. So just trying to have a little bit of respect in there for understanding people have to make changes in their lives when you make those kinds of changes to schedule, to benefits, to salary, to hours, to all of that, right?
Yeah. One of the things that's occurring to me, Nancy, is we are talking about so many of the dynamics around organizations and leadership and culture and regions and socioeconomic differences. And so often people and we see, right, there's the weaponization of the word diversity. But we've been talking about diversity this entire podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so I think it's so important for folks to understand that this is about leadership and it's about people and it's about effectiveness.
Absolutely. It's almost as if I don't care what you call it.
Yes.
Like if it weren't for the differences that we all bring to the table,
that's right,
we wouldn't have the richness of our culture.
That's right.
So I don't care if you call it DE&I or diversity. It is that in our society, in our community here in San Diego, there are some people that are doing much better than others. And that if we didn't see that in the pandemic, then you weren't paying attention. The people that allowed me to work from home were the ones that had to put themselves at the most risk of getting COVID because they couldn't afford to stay at home because they had to come out and put groceries out, or they had to pick up my trash, or they had to do all those kinds of things that I could just ignore and just wallow in the privilege of being able to work from home and being a safe environment. But those differences are what have really set us on our strategies to say I don't think anybody should have to be in that situation, to put their lives at risk just so I can work from home. I don't know if that's a shared value with people, but it's something that I, as a leader, bring to the table, bring to my organization, bring to all of the decisions that we make, is that trying to understand what are the differences in our community
Yes.
that people are experiencing. Because I can talk about wanting to do services in Southeast San Diego. People have an idea of what that community looks like. When you
Yes.
go there, it doesn't look like that.
That's right.
Right? It is going to be a mix of people. And they're the people you didn't think you would see there, but they're there.
That's right.
Right? So I just think, those preconceived conceptions of what is happening in our community, like, you just can, again, I'll go back, you can look at the data. 1/3 of the people in our community are not making enough to make ends meet.
That's right.
1/3.
That's right.
If you think that there's 3 million people in our San Diego County, then 1 million people are not making enough to make ends meet.
Yes.
And I don't know how you can say that that's okay.
Right.
I don't know in what role you play in making up our community that you think that's okay. That people with working families, we know from a real cost measure that our United Ways of California did, people in a working family with 2 kids, one preschool, one in school, are making about $110,000. They need $46,000 more dollars to survive. That's just survive. We're not talking about having luxury vacations or going on a cruise or, or being able to move to a bigger house. We're talking about just being able to provide childhood, food on the table, transportation to your job, getting a job that pays you well. This is just not okay.
Not okay.
Not okay at all. And if there's anything I can do in the few months I have left leading United Way to work down a path that helps lift up people, and I don't really like that terminology, but that really gives them the tools and the resources they need to be able to provide more for their families and for their lives, I will be proud.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, in the introduction, we mentioned your village and mentioned your group of women CEOs of nonprofits and your Japanese sisters, right? Talk a little bit about how your being a woman in positions of leadership, how's that impacted your journey? And then also being a person of Japanese heritage.
Well, when I first became a CEO, there weren't a lot of people who looked like me. There were, and I wasn't really sure how I got there.
Got it.
And I had the opportunity to travel with my parents while they were alive to Japan. And I was so struck by the fact that my father, my daddy, kept saying, she's a CEO. She's leading this organization, and she's a CEO. And he was so proud of that, and I just remember thinking, like, wow, that's kind of a big deal, and I don't know how I did it, but I got there. And, and in some ways, being kind of a sole person of color, woman leader, it kind of made me a little bit more insulated.
Okay.
I didn't see people like me to be my tribe, my village, right? And so I kind of got used to that.
Okay.
It wasn't until later on, where I'm talking with somebody and say, you know what? We should be talking to other Japanese women who are leading nonprofit organizations that aren't Asian services.
Yes.
So this group of women that I'm meeting with, we kind of made an exception because somebody moved from a non-Asian organization to an Asian organization. But, that's why we went to Japanese sisters. And just being able to share, we're all different. Couple grew up in Japan. Like, I had Japanese parents, but I didn't learn a lot of the traditions. There are others that have some of the traditions, but not all. Some that can speak some of the language and not. But we have a camaraderie about being a person of color, female, leading an organization that we don't share with a whole lot of other people.
Got it.
And that's somewhat similar with the other group of the CEO women that are all leaders. And this came about from somebody who was a fairly new CEO. I was thinking, I think I can learn from some others who are new, but also veteran. So we've got a group that are both. And, hey, what are you doing with this? Or did you hear about this? Have you thought about it? What's your thinking? And we talk a lot more about what are the organizational issues that we're all facing. and how are we dealing with them? And I can't believe staff are doing this. Like, are they doing that in your organization? Like, or is this like just in mine, and what's going on in my organization that's happening?
That's right.
Or more than likely, it's like, yeah, this one generation is like driving me crazy, because this is how they seem to be behaving. And what
That's
do we
right.
do with that?
Mhm.
And I think the latest one that we're really looking at is the difficulty in filling positions these days.
Yes.
And so what are you doing? What's successful? What's working for you? And
Mm.
like, oh, by the way, have you ever heard of this person? Like, should I hire this person? Like
Yes.
just having that group of people that you can trust, that you value their opinion,
Yes.
that are somewhat like-minded, but not always thinking the same way,
Yeah.
that you can learn from, that you can get support from.
Yeah.
And I've really learned to appreciate that and value that.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. I think about the number of CEO circles,
Mhm,
right,
mhm.
that are from Vistage to other organizations that are common places where circles of leaders get together to talk about some of the things that you are naming. And in many of those places, like you said, we don't see a whole lot of people who look like you and me in
Mhm,
those circles, right?
mhm.
And so the power of being able to create those circles in order to support our effective leadership,
Right,
right?
right. And I have two thoughts about that.
Yeah.
So remind me about Vistage. But
Okay.
the other is, in those circles, you don't see that ethnicity difference.
Uh-huh.
You don't, it's like we are respecting each other as leaders of organizations, period.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because we're women. It's not
Yes.
because we're Asian. It's not because we're diverse in the group.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we respect each other as leaders.
Leaders and executives,
You know?
yes.
So that really struck me as you were
Yes.
saying that. And the other was around Vistage.
Yes.
I've never joined one of those groups.
Okay.
In the period, all this time of being a leader and having been asked several times. And it might have been at the point that, I didn't know that I could value that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also something that I would have to say about having it form more organically, like
Yes.
both of these groups I just talked about have formed organically. We don't have speakers come in to teach us.
Yes.
We're trying to learn from each other's expertise, experience, knowledge, values.
Yes.
And for some reason, that fits better for me.
Nice.
Now, that might not be true for other people, but I've never seen some of the other well-organized. I mean,
Yes.
they've been around a long time, so they're doing something
Yes.
good,
Yes.
right? And so I'm not downcasting
That's right.
them, but I'm saying that didn't fit me.
Very good.
This more organic group
Yes.
where we just respect each other
Yeah.
from the get-go.
That's awesome.
And even though we didn't know each other
Yes.
necessarily, we just respected each other from the get-go, and that's more meaningful for me.
Oh, very good. Very good. Your superpower. What would you name it as?
Oh, my superpower.
I'm sorry. One of your superpowers.
You're wanting, jeepers. Let's see. I'm sorry. What would I say is my superpower? One of the things that I hear people say that I tried to figure out what it really means and what it really looks like and why they see that. And what they say is that I'm gracious. And so if I say anything, I would say that might be my superpower because so many people recognize it. And because I don't.
Yeah.
And because I think it is what helps me be successful, to be gracious with people, to be open, to be able to listen, to be able to learn from them, and not sitting there saying like, I'm the CEO, I know,
Yes.
right? So I think it's being gracious.
Gracious. Very good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
That works. That definitely works. Clearly.
I wish I could say invisible, or I wish I could say, because I can pound a volleyball, but, I think my superpower is graciousness.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Very good. Very good. Can you believe an hour has passed?
Oh my gosh, you're kidding me. I'm like, how much more? Like, I think there's so much more, but
Absolutely.
I've really had a great time. And I really loved that I would just talk and you would pull out what I was saying. So I appreciate that.
You are very, very welcome. It's exciting for me to mine for the nuggets, right?
Mm-hmm,
To
mm-hmm.
mine for some of those key insights, right? That you shared in your journey and in your thoughts. I really, really appreciate it. Any one or two closing comments as we wind down the episode that you'd like to share?
Well, one thing that we didn't talk
Yeah.
about is that I am an avid Texas Longhorn fan. So hook 'em
Ah,
horns. Just
very
had to
good.
throw that in
There
there
you
really
go.
quickly.
There you go.
But, I think that that's also a part of leadership,
Yes.
and that is having something that you really look up to,
Yes.
something that really draws you in, something that really you can stand on.
Yeah.
Like I am a Longhorn at heart, and I think I bleed orange.
Very
So,
good.
yeah.
There you go. There you go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it directly from Nancy. Very good. Well, let me say that we are really, really excited and want to thank you for staying tuned in to this phenomenal podcast with our amazing guest, Nancy Sasaki. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Yeah.
Jones. I had a really good time.
Oh, very good. Very good. So we're going to ask you to go to our YouTube channel and like, subscribe, and share. Feel free to comment. We will stay committed to creating future episodes where we get a chance to sit with top leaders to really unpack and mine for those leadership secrets to support your success and taking yourself and your leadership to the next level. So stay tuned, and we'll see you next episode.